And now we have Natalie for the next session.
Good morning, everyone. So great to be here. Startup weekends are the best weekends. Really excited that you are all on this journey today. We have a ton of things to do. You are so many different things on your calendar. And so I will try to go through my slides and my presentation as quickly as possible. I will make this available for sharing afterwards. So if there's something that would be that you'd all like to see again, or if you have any questions, please reach out to me. So what we're going to talk about really quickly, and it really fits nicely to Arena's presentation that went earlier, is about customer validation and a customer development model. I think customer development is one of the most important parts about building a startup because it gets us prevents us from building something that people don't want. So I really like this quote to begin, that startups fail when they don't build a simple solution to a problem that many people have. So oftentimes, especially when we experience problems or we have an idea about building a startup or a company, we might have an idea in our mind about how we want to proceed when solving that problem. But sometimes your solution and what you think might be the right way forward is not necessarily the one that actually will result in a successful business. So I like to show this as one of the most important cycles of building a startup, building a business. It is a process of iteration. So all the time, throughout the whole startup journey, you will be working to incorporate and build and measure and identify how you can continue to improve. It is always iterative. You are always improving, and it is a cycle of improvement. And that's what customer development helps us do. Because what is great about customer validation, I'll use those terms interchangeably because we do have a very condensed time and you are working on a very short speed. So we will try to cover as much ground as possible. So what this process does is it allows you to identify who your intended customers are, to understand what needs that they have, and incorporate those needs into that product that you are intending to build. So just as Irina was saying earlier about having that close connection with your customers and knowing what are some of their pain points and what are some of their challenges. So this is what will help us go through that process. So what it tries to do is, you might have that great solution to that problem, but if no one wants to buy it, then that's not really a great solution, is it? And that's unfortunate because it costs you money and time. So how do we prevent that from happening? Well, customer validation. Let's find out what price point your customers are willing to pay for whatever solution to that problem that they have, and also help identify a little bit what they actually want to buy and how you can incorporate those ideas and conceptions into your product. So why do we use this? Well, it helps us build faster and at a lower cost. It's very expensive to build a jet ski and then to find that nobody actually wants to buy it. It also removes bias from the production. So maybe you might have an idea that, the jet ski is actually exactly the right product, but for you, but your intended customer, maybe they can't afford it, maybe it's too loud, maybe it's too noisy, maybe there's legal regulations that don't allow you to have it. So this process helps remove bias. So things that you might hold internally, it helps us break down those walls. And you might not actually know what biases you might have. And then most importantly, it helps us build something that people need and want, because at the end of the day, that is what a business is all about, is about creating something that you can then sell. There's lots of really great mission-driven companies out there, lots of great kind of nonprofit organizations, but the kind of proof of a valid business model is one that actually can sell. So that's what we're looking for today with all of your solutions. So in a nutshell, very quickly, it is designed to build empathy. It is about connecting on a personal level with those intended customers. It is about first finding out where they are, how to reach them, how to speak to them, how to understand their pain points and their needs. So you're not always building for yourself, you're building for a wider group of intended buyers. So how can we connect with them and understand them so that we can put their concerns into their product? So you're not connecting with them to have them tell you what you should create. That's not the goal of customer development. It's about connecting with them to know what their problem are. And then you as an entrepreneur are coming up with a solution that addresses their problem head on. And that's kind of the key. And I think it's something that's sometimes very challenging when you are going through the customer development process is, I'm asking all these different types of questions to my intended customers. But if the goal is not to have them tell you what their intended solution is, your goal is just to use those questions and those interviews to understand them. That is what this process is about, understanding them. So moving forward, of course, iterate, repeat it. It's not something you do once. It's something you do at the beginning. It's something that you do over and over and over again, that you continue to build on those insights that you've learned, to continue to refine the product, continue to develop it. So what does that give us? So think about these arrows is every kind of, is another series of customer development interviews. So we're bringing in those insights. So maybe this might be your first MVP version, has these different qualities to it. You talk to some additional customers, you get some more feedback. You find out they want a few different things. They want you to tweak it a little bit. And then it leads us to something that at the end of the day, you bring on their concerns. You've also brought in your ingenuity of bringing all those, harnessing all those needs into something that a product that people really actually want. So let's talk about how we do this process. First, kind of a 7-step process. This comes from Cindy Alvarez in her book, and I'll share the resource at the end. And it also follows along with the materials that you've received to Startup Weekend. So the lean canvas design. But first really is identifying your assumptions and the assumptions that you have as an entrepreneur about what your customers' pain points are. So earlier this morning, there was the example, the cleaning example. Think about what assumptions you have about if you were going to use a cleaning service. And then from there, you form hypotheses about what your expectations are. Then search for your potential customers, asking them some of the right questions, really probing them to get towards those, to find those insights that you can then incorporate. Is this going to be a digital product? Is this going to be a physical product? Is this going to be a service type of business? And these answers will help you kind of guide you towards what your solution is intended to be. And in a lot of ways is intended to challenge your assumptions that you have and challenge your biases. And then from there, you can incorporate them into your product development process to keep learning, keep refining, and keep repeating the process. So I'm going to give an example today, which is a very basic type of example, but it can, just so that it's accessible to everyone. But we can, of course, this process works really well when applied to digital products. Sometimes you'll find that a digital product might not necessarily be the right answer. So exactly as Irina was saying earlier about your MVP and thinking about the most simplest solution to your problem. Use your customers to tell you and guide you where you should be going here. So let's get into it. But the most important part about this process is getting out what a Startup Weekend always used to call getting out of the building or getting out of your own head. Since we're all remote here, the most important thing is that you are actually connecting with real people. And that is something that Startup Weekend, when you have your final evaluation, will really look for. When the judges are scoring your products, they want to know these kind of key criteria. Are you building something that people want? How well can you demonstrate that you understand your customer? Did you get out and talk to someone? Since we're remote, since it's still pandemic going on, you might not have the chance to get out physically and actually reach out to people. If you can, that's amazing. But there are lots of ways of doing this virtually. And I think you should make use of all those virtual and digital tools and online communities out there. And then also really refining that value proposition. When you do your final pitch tomorrow, it's about showing that you understand that your product really does provide value to your customer and their pain point, alleviate their pain point at a price that they can afford, at a solution that makes sense for them. So let's begin with the first step of that process, identifying our assumptions. So it all begins with a problem. So you're all here today and you've been spending some time already last night thinking about some of the problems and maybe how business can solve that problem. So I'm going to take this example, say your best friend's getting married and you're part of the wedding party, and she has some dreams about what the hen party is going to look like. And because you're a good friend, because you're going to be a bridesmaid, okay, we have to make this happen for her. All right. But on the other hand, you might say, her dream is going to the beach. You're saying, I don't really like the beach. I find that boring. I don't like sand. I've been really on this health kick, and a lot of these hen parties are really about kind of a party, and I don't really like that. Also, I'm really working on my fitness, so kind of a really wild hen party, maybe that's not really something that I want to participate in, or maybe I'm looking for some sort of alternative. So, but it's not just about you, right? It's about selling to a wider market. So, but you also know your friend Jasmine, who's also part of the hen party. She's also been on a health kick too. So she might be looking for an alternative at that beach party. So you're starting to think, okay, and Janine, she also doesn't like sand. You're like, okay, well, maybe we can build something for this intended customer that alleviates these type of problems. They're all going to be at this hen party at the beach. They want something that doesn't look like the traditional hen party activities. So maybe there's a problem that we can build a solution for. What might that look like? All right. So first, we're going to collect and identify the different assumptions we have about our intended customer and the pain points they have and how they are already solved, how this problem might be solved. Because it's great if there's a problem out there that you can build for, but if there are a number of alternatives out there that solve that problem, and then you don't really have a market to build for. So that's what your interviews will be designed to kind of bring to bear here. So first, identifying what your main pain point, what is the big challenge for this customer group? Really try to understand who is experiencing, why is this a relevant problem? You say, oh, well, there's lots of beach holidays, lots of hen parties, and there's not a lot of offerings when you're at the beach that maybe are for this different type of user. That's not the traditional one. How are the customers solving this problem already? Let's look at what your competition is. What are some of the ways that your customers are looking for solutions to that problem? What is the cost of this solving that problem? Say maybe currently the only solution to this problem is at a very high price point, but maybe so that kind of gives you an opening there. You're like, okay, well, maybe I can find a solution to this problem that's at a lower price point. And then what resources are needed? So really thinking about you're an entrepreneur, you don't have a lot of resources, especially this weekend. What will it take to deploy a solution that fits within your customer's means and also your means as an entrepreneur at this stage? So that's where you start bringing your assumptions together. And you might have already received this or seen this. This is the Lean Canvas template where you can start bringing all the assumptions that you have about your problem and what the intended solution is and kind of organizing them together on this one. I really encourage you to make use of this resource if you have not yet already. So you got some of these assumptions, you've organized them. Now we start to build our hypothesis. So our hypothesis really is kind of how we test and kind of evaluate if that problem that we think that exists out there is actually a real problem. So it really looks into these who, what, why, when, how much type of questions and provides an answer for those. So that's what we use our hypothesis to begin confirming. And once we have validated that that this is actually a real problem, then we know that we can begin to start building. So you might have already gone through this step already, but let's really kind of go back to basics. So this is a way you can really simply begin to develop a hypothesis. So I believe user experience this problem or pain point when under what kind of situation. So try to put your solution into this format. So who are you building for, when, and what is the problem that they're experiencing? And that kind of, and kind of lay it all out there first. So here's my, here's a very basic one. I believe millennial women might experience boredom when on beach holidays because there's not enough alternatives. This is a very basic hypothesis just to begin with. So first, now we have to validate, see if that's actually a problem. Is this a problem that's just being experienced by me, or is this being experienced by a lot of other people out there? Let's try to begin to uncover some of the different alternatives. And the only way to do that is by finding and identifying who your customer segment is. And the important part here is by focusing this down. So you saw my hypothesis earlier, millennial women, huge, very big segment. So you can't really at this stage begin building for that kind of a very wide segment. So really try to narrow that down, because the narrower your focus of your customer is, the more likely that you will be able to realize that what you're hearing back, that those insights, those are robust. Because there's no way of being able to sample appropriately that kind of a customer segment that large at this stage. So start small and really know those customers, those intended customers, those users really well. And then from there, build out. So really try to understand who they are, and also where are they? Because the only way you can survey them and the only way you can begin questioning them is if you can find where they are. And this is a really important exercise, because if you intend to sell to this customer segment, you will need to be able to find them. So ways you can do that: use your existing network, use social media, also crowdsourcing, online forums and communities, bridesmaids forums, Reddit, communities like Discord. Where are they living right now? Where can you access them? Use your social media, build a quick web page, build some surveys on Typeform, as was suggested earlier. Really try to get the word out there, and to begin really trying to understand the depth of this problem that you're intending to solve. And then getting out of the building, put yourself out there. And these are the 3 types of interviews, questions that you will be looking to find answers for. You don't have time to go through the whole very slow iterative step of the customer development process. What's important here is that you really try to demonstrate that you have tried, that you have received some feedback from the community, from your intended customers. So really start trying to find different ways of connecting with them. You need to move fast, as I do, so I don't waste your time. And the most important thing, don't be afraid, because it's tough putting yourself out there. Just as Arena is saying, a lot of entrepreneurs are scared about launching and putting their product out there. You have to put yourself out there fast, and really kind of, you'll be so surprised at how brave you are if you just put yourself out there. And I think you'll be really surprised to see what comes back to you. So getting started really quickly. If you have time to interview someone, ideally this would be great. But try to recruit them, find where they are, write your questions, and make a plan first. So get creative. If you can't find someone that can give you some time to do an interview with, so using social media, but really go into that conversation. If you are lucky enough to be able to interview someone, go into that conversation prepared. So here are some different questions you can start with. So really asking about process questions. You're not asking about the solution, you're asking really about the problem. Understand that problem. How are they solving it? How much they can spend to solve it? How much of a problem is it for them? Is it more of a problem for, say, older people, younger people, people from this kind of economic background, or what? Really try to understand really the different complexities of the problem, and use these questions through your customer development process to really understand what that looks like, what that feels like to each and every person. And that's the process of building empathy with that customer. And you try to begin, once you start connecting with enough people, you put some questions out there, you might put out some surveys because you're limited in time, but begin building kind of a knowledge bank Try to connect different themes that are coming out. Give people the opportunity to kind of write short answers. Don't constrain them to multiple choice questions. Be open to hearing what they have to say, and you'll begin to identify different themes and connect different concepts here. And that will help guide you as you begin to find a solution to first identify, do we actually have a problem? And then the second part, because it is iterative, how we will begin to solve that. So, all right, we've already connected with some prospective customers. We might have interviewed someone, we might have reached out on Reddit, and we've got some responses back. What do we do now? Well, first thing is, have we validated our hypothesis, our initial hypothesis? Do we actually have a problem here? That's the most important thing. If you're not finding the answer, or you're maybe not getting a confirmation that this is actually a problem, continue to refine. You might be talking to too broad of a customer segment. So really try to narrow your focus down, or you might actually be finding your problem is not actually a problem. Maybe I might not be enjoying the beach holiday because I'm just not a fun person, for example. So you're like, okay, well, I need to be building for a different customer segment, and kind of removing my personal bias from my product development. So then, okay, we have found, we're kind of getting closer. We don't necessarily, we're continuing to pull those things. We haven't validated, continue moving forward by asking more questions, tailoring your hypothesis to reflect what you've been learning. It's okay to pivot at this stage. You want to do this now before Sunday afternoon, right? But then maybe you find, all right, your problem that you're intending to build for is actually a problem. Great. All right. Now, does that mean we're done? We're ready to get building? Well, maybe, but let's see. See this process, the cycle again? We're going to apply those same learnings, those same insights to building our MVP. Of course, startup weekend, all of this is accelerated. So ideally, you would be doing this sequentially, but because you are limited in time, you are limited in your opportunity of being able to find people to connect with, you will have a lot of these customer insights, customer survey really collapsed. So, but I'm just showing you this kind of for just so you know what this process usually looks like. It is repeated over and over time. So second phase. So we've validated our hypothesis. We actually have a problem. Now we have to use those insights to help us get a solution to that problem. So what is that going to look like? Well, you might find from your customer surveys, okay, people are getting bored at the beach, but they want to do something these are some of the answers they might you might have come up with from your interviews. They want to do something that's more active. They're not really price conscious because they're going on a hen party and they're spending a lot of money anyway. I'm at the beach, but I don't really want to be in the sand. It's dirty. I don't like it. And I want to do something that's new that I never tried before, and also something that makes me look great on Instagram. So that's what your customers are telling you what they're looking for in a solution to that laying on the beach and tanning all day problem. So you're like, okay, these are the ways, these are what my customers are looking for. Let me build something that solves that problem. So this is what I come up with. All right, something that's active, it's not price conscious, it's away from the sand, I look cool on Instagram. That is what I'm going to build for my customer. Does that mean, all right, let's go, let's start building this? Actually, no, because we have to go back to the cycle here. We'll repeat that process with our intended solution in mind. Now we're not asking people, do they want that solution that I had? We're not asking them, do you want this? We're asking them about further refining what that solution looks like. So what do we hear now? All right, we're asking some more folks with that intended solution in mind. And these are the things that we learned. Okay, I don't want to get my hair wet. I don't want something that's loud and noisy. I want to do something that's relaxing, and I want something that has a low level of risk involved. And you're like, oh no, okay. This definitely is not the right solution for my intended customer. okay, so back to the drawing board. How can we build something that includes all of these different customer insights? Okay, next phase. What about this solution? Okay, this might be a better option for folks. Let's try this one out. And if you have the beauty of time and you can continue to refine and develop, you can go on from this and continue to get closer and closer to what that intended product might look like. So continue to repeat and refine. You've seen this slide earlier. You might start with the first design. You continue to ask questions, and then you get to something that people actually want. And that is what your winning product will look like. So going through that process over and over again gets us closer to what we actually want to build. Closing thoughts. I know I've raced through this, but I think what is most important here, reach out to your intended customers, know them, be open to what they have to say. Don't cut. The worst thing and the work that I see founders doing is going out and building something because I know how to do this thing and I have this great technology and this is something people will just, I know they'll love it. That might not actually be the case. And the most important thing is building something that people want. So really understand what those customer needs are. Take the time to get creative and trying to find them. If you're having trouble finding customers to talk to or intended customers to talk to, you're going to have trouble selling to that customer segment. So really think about what is something that's feasible for you to do this weekend, right now with the means that you have. And it's really great to build something for someone that may be very far away from you, very distant from who you might have a network to. But you might not actually be, in that case, you might not actually be the right person to build that solution. So really be able to bring in those insights as much as possible. And then the important thing when you're asking in your surveys, or if you're asking on social media about people's challenges they're experiencing, know kind of the scale or the magnitude. How frequently does this problem come up? Is it always coming up, like for the hen party example? Yeah, is it something that someone is doing only once every 2 years? Or is it something that's happening 6 times a year? Really kind of know the frequency and also how much does it cost they would be willing to pay for it. If it's something that really is annoying and really frustrating for them, that's something that gets you towards a real winning solution here with your product development. So really trying to understand what the scale and also how much of a problem this is. You might have heard before in just in passing, talking about startups, the difference between a painkiller and a vitamin. A vitamin is something that alleviates a problem, makes things a little bit better, but a painkiller is something that really takes away something really challenging. And what sells and what is a winning product is those painkillers, because if you have something, you can't think about anything else until you have that answer to that solution. So vitamin, great. Definitely there's always a market for those. But if you can get towards finding a painkiller to something that really is frustrating people, that's where you really know that you've hit on something that's a winning product. So that is really super fast. But I think what is most important is to get started, to put yourself out there, ask as many questions as you can, really be brave about fielding answers from anyone, and put yourself out there. So let's get started. Something that you'll have to demonstrate tomorrow. So there's no time to wait. So lots of resources. I'm happy to share some of these with you, some quick YouTube videos. This is a book by Cindy Alvarez, one of my favorite fundamental pieces of literature on customer development. Go check it out. Awesome female business leader, really great work from her. And I use her work all the time. So just reach out to me or to Layla and the Siobhan and the rest of the Startup Weekend team if you would like some additional resources. But there's not always a right or wrong, but the wrong is not to try. So put yourself out there and don't be afraid to do it. And thank you so much for your time. Thank you for taking part in Startup Weekend. for building, for being brave to go through this process, and really excited to see what you all come up with tomorrow. So any questions, happy to take those very briefly, and I will be happy to share the deck afterwards. All right. Wonderful. Nice. Great. Sorry to go super fast, but happy to share this for you. Go put yourselves out there, be brave, get started, and really look for those places where you can build a product that is that painkiller. So ready, go and have fun.
Thank you so much, Natalie. That was an amazing workshop.
You're welcome. I'll share that with you, and y'all can have a really exciting weekend.
Thank you so much. Any question? Anyone have any question before Natalie leave the room? You're all good? Great, thanks. And we'll share her deck when she sent it to us. Thank you so much, Natalie.
There you go. I just put it in the chat right here. And y'all can have a look at that. So.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
All right. Have a good one, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Bye.
All right.